My name's Mark Peterson. I grew up in Minneapolis. I started photography there in 1980, 81, right in there. Came up through the wires and moved to New York in 1987. Why I became a photographer was because I failed at everything else. I had tried many other things. When I came to photography, I was 25 years old. And literally had figured that I might as well give this a shot because nothing else was working in my life. The first long-term story that I did was in Minneapolis, and it was on alcoholism and revolving door alcoholics. And then I moved on to a high school that dealt with kids in recovery and trying to get kids to experience recovery in a safe environment. And you know, I had my own experiences with alcohol and that in my family, so that's why I chose that project and followed it for, you know, about 10 years. Social issues, I think, you know, are important to any photographer because we need to take things that we see, try to understand them, and highlight them to people that might not have the chance to take the time to see that. But in a photograph, maybe they can be influenced or see what the issue is and start investigating it themselves. When I'm working on a long-term project, on something that is not just an assignment, but something that's important to me, I just kind of like wander through it and I learn as I go. And I let the subject take me on the path that I want to go on, or that I see opening up as I'm working. So it's kind of a more organic approach to it, and maybe it's because I never want to end a project. You know, I start it and they become family to me. They become something that's more than just pictured. All projects, I think, do that. Why it's important, I think, for photographers to work on personal work is that it anchors your soul, your way of working, I think. I don't believe I have a great sense of composition or a great sense of style in that. And so it's just like, you know, I just kind of throw myself at the subjects. I just go at it and I become blood simple almost. You just kind of become crazed in the moment and you just do everything you can to create. And you know, I think if I had a better sense of style or composition, you know, my work would be much different. But the composition just comes from that chaos that develops inside the picture, and it just all kind of fits together. The color is a lot of times the first thing that draws me into it, and the first thing I try and center in the picture. I like politics, and that's why, you know, why it's been important for me to photograph politics. It's a way to try and understand this country. This country at times has confused me, you know, and why we make the decisions we make. So to go and photograph some of the politicians is a way to understand what they're really saying, because, you know, we get the message in a commercial or we get it in a 90-second synopsis on the local news or the national news, and to get it, you know, where you actually have to listen to the speech over and over is incredible. I mean, I remember the first time I went to Louisiana and covered David Duke. You know, you looked around and there was no way to really capture in a still picture what he was really about. But sometimes if you turned around and started looking at the crowds as they came and who they were and what they looked like, you were better able to show the politics of him and what it was about. For me, you know, when I first thought of, you know, pictures and wanting to do politics was when I was, you know, in New York and the war was going on. So I started following some anarchist groups because I wanted to show, you know, historically and have those images that there were people protesting the war, even though the war was supported by 98% of the country, as the polls were saying, for, you know, George Bush the first, you know, that in that way, you know, we were a country supposedly in lockstep with George Bush, but there was dissent, and so that's what I wanted to show. Those pictures, whatever they are, at least there's a record that shows people were against it and not, you know, just everybody was for the war, how it was, you know, contrived. I began this project on charity back in the 90s. I was given an assignment. I was following around kind of the queen of this society. It was just like another world to me. I'd never seen this, never experienced it. I started photographing it on my own after the assignment because it seemed unusual to me that here in New York we were, you know, having parties, drinking, dancing, singing in the name of the poor to cure AIDS or all the different, you know, charity events there were. You know, I was being very political in why I was taking these pictures because I thought as a government we should be looking at this and funding it rather than trying to do it as a charity. Right now I'm working on a project on the movement that sprung up after Obama got in office, and so I've gone to many rallies and different events and shot people. Why I'm doing it? Because it reminds me so much of you know, what this country was like in 1993 and what happened then and how the militias started showing up in that. So, you know, I feel in some ways I'm walking down the same road and looking at the same things. You know, what might be a little bit different now is you'll be standing there at the rally and all of a sudden you'll hear someone screaming the most, you know, nasty, rude things, you know, just in the crowd, and you'll look over and it'll be like someone who's your mother's age or someone who's like maybe my age, and you're just like shocked by the anger and the hostility there. I think photojournalism is one of the best democratic institutions we have. And I mean, it's such an incredible time to see this work. I mean, I'm amazed all the time, the work that's out there that people are putting their hearts and souls into, that is just like phenomenal work. I think the best work is being done right now.